what's next for pharma.
When you type in what's next for pharma, we will literally come up.
And your name is also very unique.
I chose it because I've always been asking what's next.
A lot of things have been changed over the past few years because of digitalization.
Accelerates review of new drugs as you can do it through AI. Now AI can help you with that process, not replace you, but help you with that process. So
how much this global politics and geopolitics shift the control over this industry?
in 2028 on generic medicines being imported to US. I say 40% of our industry going to function because 40% of India's exports go into the US. So in Germany, drug price controls.
Which are your 5 bucket list?
I'd like this platform or this GPS really to be adopted and to be used across the board from startups to mid-sized biotech to large pharma. I think getting this into the market is my top priority or top bucket.
Insiders know about and the outsiders have not seen yet in pharma industry.
That appreciation of innovation, designing that drug that
नमस्कार दोस्तों, आप सभी को स्वागत है एक सोच में. Today we are joined by Samiksha, the founder of What's Next for Pharma, a company that's helping shape the future of pharmaceutical industry through innovation and smarter solution. But behind every successful founder is a journey filled with challenges. There was a time where Samiksha came close to shutting down her own company instead of giving up. She chose to rebuild, rethink, and come back stronger. In this conversation, we will explore her entrepreneurial journey, the lessons from failure, the future of pharma, and the one idea that changed everything. So without further ado, let's welcome Samiksha to Ek Soch, one idea that changed her life. All right, Samiksha, welcome to Ek Soch. So before we even begin, I really want to understand what was your one thought? What was your one idea that changed your life completely?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here. And the one idea that changed my life, if you ask me, I think it would be to not wait for the right time to start anything, whether it's a change in your career, whether it's starting up something new for yourself, whether it's taking up anything new that you decide to do. Just don't wait for the right time. The right time is now. And it's better to start being a part of the solution now rather than say 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So the right time is now, I'd say.
When did you thought and when did you realize that, now I want to have my own baby, I want to start my own company in the name of What's Next for Pharma? And your name is also very unique.
Yeah, it's a lot of marketing that we didn't need to do because when you type in what's next for pharma, we will literally come up. So that's not why I chose the name really. It's because I chose it because I've always been asking what's next. I did that when I was in my corporate jobs right throughout. And not just what's next for us as an organization, but what's next for the industry. How are things across the world going to affect the industry? So that's where the name What's Next for Pharma came about. And it's interesting that you call it my baby, but really I protect it like it is.
Yeah.
If anyone, and that's how it should be, right? Because then
Yes.
you don't really need to indulge in competition because as anyone would know, you would protect your baby like a fierce mama. So that's what I've done. And anyone that has even the slightest bit of it's made us very sharp in the way we've structured the company, in the way that we've dealt with competition, in the way that we've pivoted when needed. So I think, yes, I protect it very fiercely, and the name really it always starts a conversation. So I'm happy to have as many people ask what's next for pharma.
So it's very unique and it's very eye-catchy as well. And your name itself clearly states that, you're talking about pharma.
Yeah.
Say, if you have to explain this, what's next for pharma to a 10-year-old kid, what will it be?
So I would, considering 10-year-olds these days are way more advanced than we are even. with their
True.
use of technology. But I know what you mean. If I had to say it very simply, it's if you just think of putting together a jigsaw puzzle and you're doing
Mhm.
it with your family, all of you are on the same team, even though you each have your own internal makeup and your own internal strategies. So think of each person in the family as a single department or function within a pharmaceutical organization. So one is R&D, one is clinical, one is
Yeah.
commercial, and one is regulatory. So each one has their own internal makeup, but the end goal has to be the same because if you're
Yeah.
going to make the puzzle as it is in the picture, you have to be looking at the same picture. So that's simply it. All functions across a pharmaceutical organization need to be looking at the same end goal, the same picture, so that you're working in a connected and integrated way. And you're being not just more efficient, but you're accelerating that product to market in a way that everyone's input is not only taken in, but the most comprehensive input is what's taking that product to market. And so, if everyone's looking at the same map, then they're all going to get to that finished jigsaw puzzle not only much sooner, but in the right way and in an integrated way. That's very simply what's next for pharma.
Manisha, you have been in this industry quite, quite long now. It's been 10 plus years. You've already been in the industry. Now, when you
Yeah.
say it's a jigsaw puzzle, I can really understand while saying this that, maybe still the pharma industry is running traditionally. Do you really think so? Or a lot of things have been changed over past few years because of digitalization?
I would actually give the industry a lot of credit for taking up riding with that wave and surge of technology and AI adoption that has come in the past 2 to 3 years, I think.
Mhm.
So, of course, AI itself has been around for 40 years, more than 40 years, but
Mhm.
I think the recent surge of adoption has been within the past 3 years because it's more user focused now. And even though the industry is so highly regulated, it has so many different components coming together. There's still been an adoption that's I would say a lot higher than initially expected. So, for example, people have adopted AI across drug discovery, drug development, clinical development, regulatory. So, the FDA, for example, has this tool called ELSA that accelerates review of new drugs. Then there's drug discovery labs that have thousands, 10,000, 20,000 candidates that can be funneled in a tenth of the time that it used to take us earlier because you can do it through AI and you can have these two or three lead candidates that are very promising according to specific criteria that scientists and clinicians have laid out. Where earlier you'd have to test out all of those candidates, now AI can help you with that process, not replace you, but help you with that process. So I would say the industry has adopted AI really well across the board. And credit to the industry for doing that. That being said, there's still a lot more room for um, inclusion of more and innovation across the board.
Before even we deep dive and further understand about how this entire industry works, I really want to
Yeah.
understand one thing. That, before you even thought of starting this, what is
Yeah.
that one thing which only insiders know about, and the outsiders have not seen yet in pharma industry?
Wow, you're trying to get me arrested here. Let's see. So, what's the one thing that only insiders know? Um, I think it's a couple of things actually, and it's this is not to let out um, anything huge, but really it's an understanding of what actually goes into making a drug candidate successful. So a lot of people may think of pharma as well. You manufacture a drug, get it to the market. There's this whole component of innovation, drug discovery, drug design that, of course, certain nations are more well versed in or have more of a platform to be able to even do. So I think that understanding of the entire life cycle may not be as clear to outsiders, and that's fine. So you may think of it as well, manufacture a drug, quality, safety, compliance, get it through to the market with a little bit of pricing, a little bit of regulatory and clinical involvement, but that really covers 50% of it. That's why leaders have been pushing for innovation so much, because there is an entire platform of discovery and design that comes in before any of the manufacturing even takes place. And this may sound very obvious, but really, to on the outside, at least the conversations that I've had with people from other industries, there's not as much of an appreciation for how much effort goes into innovation, how much of iterative cycles and development goes into just getting a drug that's actually first in class, best in class, because that's the goal. At least that's the way we talk about it internally, where you want something that's first in class, best in class, which means it's basically the best fit molecule or best fit therapeutic for patients. So I think I would, to sum it up, I'd say an appreciation of the full product life cycle is something that's missing on the outside that, of course, only insiders would know.
But when you say it's whole life cycle, right?
Yeah.
So the appreciation is very important in understanding the amount of uh, amount of work that is required, the amount of distribution or the whole life cycle that is, in short, its whole ecosystem, right? The
Yeah.
appreciation is very important for the every person involved in the process. Just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, I would want to understand how long the process is to develop one particular drug.
Um, right now, the average is about 10 to 12 years. In some cases, even 15 years. So I'd say on an average, maybe think about 12 years to get to market. Um,
Oh.
right, exactly. So, and this is, of course, pre AI.
Mhm.
Haven't yet factored in the timeline once you've incorporated AI through the entire life cycle, but I would say an average of 12 years. And this is everyone from research, development, clinical, regulatory, commercial, market access, everybody coming together to get one product to market. It's 12 to 15 years. Yeah.
12 to 15
Years.
years. Oh my God. I have
Yeah.
really seen, a lot of companies, like 10 to 12 companies, come together to market one particular medicine. What is your say in that?
I see. So there, there's a little bit of I don't know if it's just terminology, but rather than 10 to 12 companies, think of it as 10 to 12 organizations or functions coming together. So we call it functions, but what each function is referring to is really just early discovery, um, candidate optimization, candidate selection, R2D
Mhm.
transition, development, CMC, quality, compliance, safety,
Yeah.
clinical development. So each, you may think, so these aren't separate companies, these are separate functions that come together. And yes, I'd say about 10 to 12 on an average need to come together, but that's the way it works. So it may not be a separate organization. You may work with, say, contract development organizations or contract research organizations, but at the end of the day, it's just those 10 internal organizations coming together to funnel this product to the market.
I like the fact when you said that, there should be appreciation for things that they have done. I can remember, I can recollect the phase, the corona phase, the
Yeah.
lockdown phase, basically, how the
Yeah.
government talk about Indian government or global.
Mhm.
Like, India has actually made innovation of the medicines which were required and supplied to all the other countries.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, that was something, and you rightly said that, there should be an appreciation for positives, which actually, like, with government intervention or political intervention during that
Yeah.
phase of time. So, of course, I mean, there are positives and negatives to both the sides. There are two phases to it. Now, talking about what's next for pharma, what exactly is what's next for pharma, and how do your company help and partner with this industry?
That's okay. So let's see a couple of different questions in there. So, first, in terms of what we do, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, which is creating a unified picture for functions across the board to look at, so that when you're creating a product or driving a product from idea to market, everybody is looking at an integrated picture and the same integrated picture. So, what we are, first of all, is a built in navigation system for the industry. So, just like you would use GPS or a positioning system basically to get you from point A to point B, we have created a similar navigational system that gets you from that point A to point B, B being the market, and
Mhm.
gets you there in a way that all functions, R&D, clinical, commercial, project and portfolio management, everybody is looking at the same picture. So when you're looking at the same picture, you're spending less time in deciding, well, is this is our view of how things should be, this is your view how things should be, and you won't believe how long it takes in actually getting to get everyone aligned. So I would say it's our presentation of an integrated picture through a built-in navigation system for the industry. And this works for, we're starting off by working with biotech and medtech startups, because these are people who are in a space where resource prioritization is extremely essential. You can imagine an early stage startup, it's, you would just need leadership, and you would just need the people who are actually doing the work. So we can come in as this middle layer almost of strategic and operational guidance that an early stage startup, you cannot justify that kind of manpower at that stage, for lack of a better word. So that's where we come in for startups. And then for large pharma, that's of course our long term goal and ambition, to get to large pharma as well. There, it's not so much about resources, and of course, there's prioritization, but I don't think the number one challenge is resources. I think it's more, we have 100,000 people. How can we present a unified picture to them? So we work more in terms of integration, and then on the startup end, we work more in terms of just navigation and strategic and operational guidance and roadmaps.
Wow, I must say you guys are doing amazing. So every business is basically a solution to a problem, which you
Yeah,
guys have created really well, right? You guys are actually helping startups to get there, right?
yeah.
When in beginning of our conversation you said it's a jigsaw puzzle,
Yeah,
and you are creating a space for them where they don't have to get into that puzzle.
where they don't have to get into the puzzle, or hopefully it's easier to put the puzzle together. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Was there any time when you thought that, because since you are very young and you have started this company, and the ideation and the thought process is really unique and it's very innovative, right? To be a middleman and help people in this industry. But at the same point of time, when we begin our journey, there are a lot of hurdles, there are a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
Did you ever felt that, now I'll not be able to take this further anymore? Was there any moment or was there any phase in your life where you felt that, it's it's becoming too much for me?
To be honest, so there's a couple of things really. The first, so we pivoted a lot. What I had said at the beginning, and I'm not very loud about all of these pivots, because it's something that leadership had always taught me, or something that I've always seen, where inside it's this whole turmoil, and outside
Yeah.
you just maintain this calm face. But really, to your point, if I'm being very honest, there were several points where I thought, well, this is a lot. This is too much to take on, not just by yourself, but as a whole, even as a company. So it in the beginning, we had proposed this idea of a human in the loop system, basically, of creating these insight stacks across the industry, where we would have every expert um, delineate all of their expertise over the years. We'd create these stacks, and it's not like it's not possible, but it was a huge undertaking. It's something that a lot of the big tech firms, or just big firms in general, could take up in a second. And a lot of
Yeah.
those ideas were already um, not just presented, but already executed on. So I think that that was a huge disappointment early on. But I think it was that pivot that led to honing in on how you can actually create value through what you know as an insider, as we talked about earlier. And that's when I began to think about, well, what do I know that those big firms can maybe wouldn't know even after years of talking with people inside of the industry, just because you haven't lived it firsthand. So I got a little bit more competitive. I got more sharper with where I could add value, having been an industry insider, and then also just developed a tougher skin because I
Yeah.
realized this is just how businesses work. It's not the softer pharmaceutical world that I'm used to. So yeah,
It's pharma and it's huge world. Again, it's an
yeah,
industrial world. And you rightly said that, talking with the leadership, the people who are already doing really good in this industry. Sometimes it might happen that, when you go and meet this kind of people who are already a big shot in this industry, they might
okay,
have this kind of perception that,
yeah.
oh my God, I'm talking to a child. Was there
On
any incident that happened?
To be honest, it reminds me of what the founder of Oyo said many years ago, and he said this one thing that stuck with me. I think, well, for him, he was 20 or 21 at the time, and he said he was standing outside one of their establishments, and someone, eh, an investor or institutional VC, looked at him and said, uh, like, and they said it in Hindi, if I can say it, like, "आपको देख के ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि you can even do this." And
Yeah,
he said, and he went on to, well, the rest is history. So he didn't even have to explain his story. But it was very timely. And then he said something else. He said, people will always have something to say about how you look, how you present yourself.
yeah,
At the end of the day, it's what you do so let your work do the talking. And then he ended with
absolutely.
saying, "Kuch to log kahenge, logo ka kaam hai kehna."
Calm again.
I think that really I've followed his journey very closely, but that one thing really stuck with me because yes, to your point, so many people have said, "Oh, are you just out of college?" And I said, "Well, college was 15 years ago, so no." But I think really it also helps in a positive way where I see myself having a huge set of possibilities just because people see me as this young founder who's just out of college, and I say, well, yeah, sure, that's exactly what it is. We can go with
Sit
that.
with me on table. Your answer should be sit with me on table.
No, I take it in a good way, really. It's
Yeah.
If you put a positive spin to you're seen as this young founder who's out of college. I mean, I'll take
True.
it.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's a very proud moment for your parents and people who are supporting in this entire journey to you.
Absolutely.
Talking about AI, we have spoken a lot about AI, right, in
Yeah.
pharma. What is that one innovation you feel that, in next 3 years we might have in this industry when I speak about AI?
Next 3 years. Let's see. Outside of integration and the navigational system, I hope. Um,
Yeah.
but really, if I'm being serious, I think that's the one that I see is going to be adopted massively in the next 3 years. We've already seen drug discovery adopt AI. We've already seen faster review times in regulatory. So the next thing is integration. The next thing is developing strategic and operational guidance and navigation, and developing it for the entire industry. So, without sounding very biased, I would say it's integration and navigation of product to market, which is exactly what we're doing. And that's exactly where I see the promise. And I am betting on that. So,
I wish you all the best for that. I'm sure that, what's next for pharma will set a kind of a vision for themselves and be a space, you know, eliminating all of them in this industry and being a top-notch company in your future, because you're very visionary, you're very young, and you're doing amazing work. Okay.
Mhm.
So people, like, most of the time they don't like to take that risk of your age, right? You're talking about young entrepreneur. Okay,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of things, right? A lot of money is involved, a lot of support is required, a lot of things in their mind. What one message you would like to deliver to all of them who wants to work in this industry, but most of the time they fear मेरे पास support नहीं है, या लोग क्या कहेंगे, as you said.
Um, I would say it's what would we say to them? Just to remove all of those inhibitions and to start by trying something new.
Yeah.
Of course, don't wait for the right time, remove all of those inhibitions and take it one step at a time. Try doing something and make it a process of exciting trial and error. So, try something new, it doesn't work, try something else, get excited by the process. And the only way to get to that is by finding the thing, and this is going to sound very cliched, but it is true. It's cliched because it's true. Finding the thing that's the most that you're most passionate about, because otherwise there's no point. And there's this thing that I hope will help people, but finding your centering. So a lot of organizations center around strategy, some center around lean innovation. We centered around mission driven and customer driven ethics. So I found that to be, and it wasn't always the case. I was also in the strategy and innovation centering. But ever since I shifted to a more mission centric, purpose driven, and customer focused approach, I think that is really what led to the loss of all of those inhibitions that you mentioned, because then it becomes like a north star. It becomes like your goalpost. It becomes like if it's a mission, everything else fades away, because whether it's and money, revenue, all of that becomes secondary. Not to sound
Yeah.
philosophical, but really, if you center everything around a mission, the loss of inhibition is it's very easy.
And it's very rightly said that, once if you have, like, the vision and mission, you have a roadmap, you should start.
Yeah,
You should deep dive, you should start, and it will be manifested with your journey,
yeah,
right? So it's important that, if you believe in something and you are visionary, you are on a mission to do something, of course you can just deep dive and start. Things will follow.
absolutely.
So thank you so much, Samiksha. We had wonderful conversation. One last question, which is triggering me right now, is there
Sure.
are a lot of medicines or products in the market when you talk about health and wellness. Okay,
Hmm.
health and wellness is again a biggest industry.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so I've seen a lot of companies. Okay, they are
hmm,
developing this product. Okay, and they are saying that, this is 100% result driven, and when you start having it, there
yeah.
is no result. Have you been through such kind of situation, or such kind of a perception where you have that, this company is doing something which is not ethical?
Not ethical. Let's see. I wouldn't specifically. I haven't had that experience personally, so I couldn't say. Um, yeah, no, I've never had that experience personally. But to your point about ethics and to your point about quality and safety, I think that there's two things that need to be taken care of. One is a very clear separation between how you're marketing a product and how you're treating its quality, safety, and compliance. And I think that, again, they're getting back to integration, really, having a better integration between what your safety, efficacy, and quality profiles look like, what the compliance end looks like, and then how you're actually positioning it through your marketing and through your market access. That matters a lot so that people don't feel like they've been misled in any way. again, hasn't happened to me, but requires greater integration between the market access as well as quality and compliance teams.
I always look at the market.
Yeah,
Okay, whatever is been marketed emotionally or nicely, it has
yeah,
been sold. Okay, no matter what, whether you generate, you have good result, you will be able to get that experience of 100% result oriented product. But I believe that there is a lot to do with the marketing
yeah,
nowadays. When
yeah,
you start launching your product, the first thing that people do is market and create a whole branding.
yeah.
How real is that?
I think that's very real, and it's each one approaches it differently.
Hmm.
So there's people that have taken up branding as the first step almost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
uh, I'm a lot more of a scientific founder in that sense, where I'm so used to how things are done within science and within pharma that I also use that same methodology when starting this venture up, when creating a product, when creating an
Yeah.
MVP. I've done the same thing. So we spent actually 8 to 10 months just iterating and getting a product from prototype to enterprise grade MVP, because that's exactly how pharma works. It's like getting from prototype as your candidate, think of the MVP as your lead, and then you're now shuttling off that MVP into the market through distribution. So that's all I know. And that's what I did with this. But that's not the only way. There's people who have very efficiently used marketing in terms of several different channels. They've advertised through commercials, they've advertised through magazines, they've put out, because I agree with the point of having that emotional connect. Um, that being said, at the end of the day, people are going to buy what they need, people are going to buy the product. And this is, and you can't make one generic statement. It varies by industry. So depending on the scale of the organization, depending on what industry you're selling to, I hate the word, but for lack of a better word, depending on what industry you're selling to, you really need to have those iterative cycles so that your product is catered exactly to the market that you're going for, and not maybe almost scaring them off with huge campaigns that they may not be used to. So it's a thin balance, a balance of who you're catering to, and really just still adding that emotional component. And when you're actually introducing that component, do you feel ready enough? Have you co-created that product with industry people so that then you don't even need to market because you've already created it with them? It's already something that they want. And then you just go from there. So it's a balance, I'd say. Yeah.
Correct. And I've seen, specifically talking about health and wellness industry, because I've seen people have developed product. When I've spoken to you in the beginning, you said it takes 12 to 15 years. But
On
in
and
health and wellness, what I've observed is people are creating products within year or 2 years. Maybe sometimes earlier than that. So
yeah, it's a whole different industry. It's yeah.
yeah, correct. So thank you so much, Samiksha. Once again, we had wonderful conversation. We are heading towards the rapid fire round. So whatever questions I'm going to ask you, you have to answer in one word. Are we ready for it?
I will do
All
my best.
right. All right then. Scientist or entrepreneur? Which word describes you more?
All of the best entrepreneurs, some of the best entrepreneurs have been scientists. So I will say entrepreneur, because I've been a former scientist.
Lovely. One industry outside pharma you wish would collaborate with it.
I think it's the reverse. There's a lot of going, if we're going by the news of big tech and LLMs having industry veterans on their board, I would say actually big tech is vying to collaborate with pharma a lot more than the
Huh?
other way around. Yeah.
Just a drug should realistically take to reach market.
3 to 5 years.
Mhm. True. AI or human? Who makes the better final call on a new drug?
Human.
Absolutely. I'm sure AI might help a lot, but at the end of the day, when you create a prototype and you
Yeah.
pilot that, it's altogether a different game. One
Mm.
word, what does innovation actually mean to you?
Innovation, inclusion of diverse perspectives.
So, well, you are an entrepreneur, you are in the journey of entrepreneurship. I'm sure there is a lot of stress around, there are a lot of things, but at the same point of time, there are something which we love to do most. So, out of these three things, which are the top one thing that you would never give up? Dance, music, or science?
Science.
Yeah. Biggest myth people believe about the pharma industry.
Biggest myth people believe about the pharma industry. Um, Myth. I don't know if there's any. Well, back to what we were talking about earlier. There is no 100%. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't take that at face value when you
true.
see 100%.
Yeah. Mumbai or anywhere else, where is home? Where do you feel that you are, that's your home?
Home is where it's not forced, where it's more of a feeling of just being able to be present. So Mumbai would be heart-centered home, and then Boston would be reality based home. That's my very polished answer for that.
Lovely. One leader from this industry you would want on your board.
From the pharmaceutical industry.
Yep. Yep.
Interesting. Wow, there's so many. Can I name more than
Only
one?
one. Yep.
Only
No, there
only one.
cannot be more than one. It's only one.
Oof. Well, certain industry leaders are already on the board of big tech, so I feel like their hands are full. Um, let's see. Kiran Majumdar, sure, sure. Yeah.
True. Finish the sentence. What's next for pharma is?
What's next for pharma is it's a game changer.
So thank you so much once again. I enjoyed this whole conversation with the young entrepreneur who has
Likewise.
so much of knowledge about this industry and who keeps researching. This triggers me one more question, Samiksha. I'm sorry, but I need to ask you because I love talking to entrepreneurs, especially the young entrepreneurs. Okay, I want to understand, I mean, which are the top three books that you love and you suggest people to read if they want to be in the entrepreneurship journey?
Oh, if they want to be, this is regardless of these three books. I think I would say are great regardless of whether you want to get into business or entrepreneurship or not. One is Tata Stories, and it's laid out in a way that's it's so simplistic. It's very early stories of just Tata Industries and how they got there,
Yeah.
but not just how they got there, but the journey. So Tata Stories, definitely start with that one or include that in your list. Um, Another one is, let's see, this one is more of a strategic review, but it's very, very helpful. It's from the Harvard Business Review, and they have an entire stack of books, but I would suggest the one that deals with to what we were talking about earlier, strategic marketing and also organizational alignment. So if you look up any Harvard Business Review stack, you'll find both of these: organizational readiness and alignment, and then strategic marketing. There's a lot more, and you can go into the entire stack, but these two are ones I'd recommend. Tata Stories, and then the third one is it's called The Diary of a CEO,
Yeah.
and yeah, that it's also a podcast. Yeah, so if you're not into reading the entire book, it's an easy read. It's because it's with real life examples, real life stories, real life interviews with CEOs across the board. So yeah, I'd go for that one. And yeah, those are maybe the three that I enjoyed the most in the last 1 year.
So when you have spoken about Diary of CEO, which are your five bucket list?
5 bucket lists for the next year for myself.
Next year, yeah.
Wow, that is an ambitious. Let's see. We're starting with three buckets first.
Yeah.
I think I'd like this platform or this GPS really to be adopted and to be used across the board from startups to mid-sized biotech to large pharma. I think just getting this into the market is my top priority or top bucket. The next one would be really just to what we talked about earlier, getting my personal story out there along with what's next for pharma, because I've seen through a lot of conversations with leaders where there's a better connect or a better understanding and adoption once you have a sense of who the person is behind all of this, why they're doing it, what drove them to do it. So I'd really emphasize just being more open about who we are and why we're doing it and getting
Yeah.
that story out there. So yeah, getting our story out there, getting our product into the market, having mass adoption across the board. And when I say across the board, I mean globally. So yeah, I think those three are big enough buckets that there's no space for more.
Lovely. And
Yeah,
wish you all the best. And I'm sure you're
thank
going to
you.
fulfill all your bucket list very within a short span of time. The vision that you carry, I'm sure that and you're working very smartly, and hard work to sab karte hai yaar, but you're working very smart. So thank you so much once again, Samiksha. Before we sign off for today, one last
Mhm.
message for our platform, Ek Soch, one idea that changed your life.
One last message. Let's see. Don't be afraid to be a trailblazer in your field of work.
Yeah.
We all have that inherent capability. Go back to what you did as a child. Go back to what lit you up, what excited you, what made you just curious as a child, and get back to that childlike curiosity. Get back to that childlike playful state, and yeah, bring out that inner child, bring out that inner curiosity, and don't be afraid to be a trailblazer.
Once again, and I'm sure the kind of product that you're building, the GPS that you're creating for this industry, will
Yeah,
save people's lives and their times too, I'm sure. And
that's the
that is what's next for pharma. Thank you so much for signing off for today, Nirali Pandya, Ek Soch, one idea that changed your life.